What's up, everyone? This is the Next Take podcast, episode 75, with Mikel
and Tanyka.
where we have conversations on different topics. So, we're doing another topic episode for this week. And what is the topics for this episode, Tanika?
So we're going to be talking about Lifelabs is moving testing in Surrey. So I think that's just the testing in British Columbia. People are breaking up with dating apps. Sorry, I've been doing so good with my cough today. And
Mhm.
Dell threatens its employees
Mhm.
with termination, I believe. So yeah, the first topic. The union representing LifeLab workers is warning that patients could see longer wait times for test results if plans by the company to move its microbiology lab to Surrey from Victoria come to fruition. So, the BC General Employees Union, representing about 1,200 LifeLab employees in that province, advised technicians Wednesday, or I think this was maybe a couple months in a row, so that LifeLabs has given written notice of plans to move most of the microbiology patient testing to the CAM Cody building in Surrey.
Mm.
LifeLabs has said it will lay off workers from two work sites, and that is the Victoria Reference Laboratory and the
Mhm.
Kamloops Reference Laboratory, the union
Mhm.
said in an email to members. The BCGEU said 16 full-time workers would be affected, including 13 in Victoria, and a number of temporary positions will not be renewed. Staff in Victoria have been told the microbiology lab is shutting down. It would have been on October 1st, and the layoffs will start taking effect as recently as December 31st.
Mhm.
So that's potentially in progress or it's been complete, but
Mhm.
an offer of buyouts and exit packages is expected. The next meeting between the company the next meeting after this article was on July 9th. So as BCGEU members, these workers have protections under their collective agreement that will help mitigate the impacts, such as 60 days notice and the opportunity to discuss adjustment measures. And this was said by the BCGEU president, Paul Finch. The job losses are expected to include 5 medical laboratory technologists in microbiology, 5 laboratory technical assistants in analytical support, and 3 laboratory technical assistants in specimen management in Victoria. 2 medical laboratory technologists and a laboratory technical assistant will lose their jobs in Kamloops. Hmm.
Mhm.
Um, all samples collected from patients on the island, whether it's urine to test for urinary tract infections, throat swabs to test for strep throat, or cultures to look for sexually transmitted diseases, are currently sent to the Victoria Reference Laboratory in the Vancouver Island Tech Park for processing, and according to a technician who spoke on the promise of anonymity. Those blood samples, biopsies, and cultures are then sorted to go to separate chemistry, hematology, or microbiology labs within the Victoria Reference Laboratory. Or in the case of biopsies, for example, they might be sent to hospitals, including St. Paul's Hospital in Vancouver and Royal Jubilee Hospital in Victoria or BC Cancer.
Mhm.
The closure of the microbiology lab in the Victoria Reference Laboratory is driven by new technology in Surrey that can process the samples with fewer workers. So we're switching to robots. I don't get it, but anyways, so the
Mhm.
technician who added that workers are worried about patient care.
Mhm.
To deliver the samples from Vancouver Island to Surrey would add at least 6 hours to the time spent waiting for test results, she said. But then in adverse weather conditions, that when the ferries get shut down, who knows, it could be 24 hours. And then what happens if there's things that expire? So that's the thing you have to think about.
Mm,
Lifelabs says chemistry coagulation. Coagulation. I'm fine. I just never seen that word before, actually, to be totally honest with you. But anyways, coagulation, hematology, and urinalysis routine tests typically have a turnaround time of 24 hours after receipt in the lab. Routine microbiology and parasitology tests, so like I think parasite testing for parasites, generally have turnaround times of 72 hours after receipt in the lab. The
mm,
technician estimates 300 to 400 urine cultures are processed a day in Victoria, along with 50 to 100 strep throat swabs. That's a lot,
mm,
depending on the season, and more than 100 sexually transmitted infection swabs. Lifelabs and BCGEU are negotiating a collective agreement. The Health Ministry and Lifelabs were not immediately available to comment at the time of this article.
mm,
So hopefully
mm.
it won't be too bad. Hopefully,
Yeah.
um, yeah, I mean, if they're getting weather like what we just got here, um, then we're recording this maybe the week before, or
Mm,
the week before you're getting this. Who knows? Because we
yeah.
just got dumped on with a lot of freaking snow,
Yeah, we did a
and it's
lot.
not over.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
It's not over at all.
yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Um,
But yeah,
yeah. Yeah. What's next?
on to the next one.
Yeah.
So this is the dating site one.
Mm,
Bumble executives didn't know how much its turnaround and campaign would sting Gen Z and millennials. The dating
mm,
app faced major backlash last month after running billboard ads targeted toward women with anti-celibacy messages, including, "You know full well a vow of celibacy is not the answer." The
mm,
f-
mm,
How about you don't worry about that? Like, if a woman or even a man want
mm,
to be celibate, that's their business.
mm.
It's
True.
never been my thing, but that's if your thing, that's fine.
Mm,
Like it's nothing wrong with that. The plan majorly backfired with women taking to TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter to talk about just how offensive Bumble's new ad campaign was to them. They argue Bumble turned a blind eye to the fact that women continue to lose reproductive rights. Others have
mhm,
experienced trauma that prevents them from enjoying and pursuing casual intercourse. And the theme of the ads feeds into the idea of patriarchal society in which women are just objects for men to mess with.
mm.
Amen to that.
Yeah. Yeah.
The ad campaign was meant to be a major part of Bumble's turnaround plan after 70% of women surveyed by the app said they experienced dating app burnout, which is very real. The app also made a major change that now takes the onus off of women to make the
Mm,
first move and announced AI dating concierge to help weed out matches. Because that's what was, I've never used Bumble.
mhm,
Bumble was kind of after my time of dating. Um, but what I've heard that's so great about Bumble is that women were kind of in the driver's seat. A man could reach out in a way that would kind of show interest, but it was up to the woman to kind of be like, "Okay, yeah, I'll talk to you." Um, so I guess they've kind of changed that a little bit. Like I don't know, but
mhm,
um, even after Bumble's debacle, many Gen Z and millennials have long blasted the dating app experience on TikTok and other social media. The generational shift is real. 79%, sorry, 79% of college students and other Gen Zers are foregoing regular dating app usage and instead opting for in-person interaction, going old school, according to an Axios and Generation Lab study from October 2023.
mhm.
Despite a 16% year-over-year revenue increase in 2023, Bumble also announced plans to lay off 30% of its workforce ahead of its brand relaunch that was intended to have a stronger appeal to younger users, said
Mm,
by CEO Lydianne Jones, said
mhm,
during the February earnings call. So this would have been about a year ago. Hinge released a study telling Gen Zers to embrace the cringe of online dating.
mm,
While Bumble's latest fumble serves as a prime example of why many Gen Zers and millennials are logging out of dating apps for good, there are a variety of reasons why these younger generations are giving up on them altogether. While Bumble's latest fumble, sorry, did I say that already? I did say that already. So, okay, let's get into those reasons. Um, actually, no, I didn't read it. They just used the same joke twice in this article. So,
mhm,
let me just read quickly through it to make sure. Yeah. Okay, so Fortune spoke with several Gen Zers and millennials to find out the main reasons why they're deleting the apps. So,
mhm,
first reason, they're a wasteland. The first word that comes to mind when thinking about dating apps for 24-year-old communications professional Max Gomez is wasteland, saying, quote, I think the user pool on a lot of these apps has declined. Who lives in New York City's Brooklyn neighborhood? Gen Z is
mhm,
just simply not using these apps as much anymore. Gomez also
mhm.
says the apps have become increasingly reminiscent of other social media platforms like Instagram, where users are more concerned about curating the right photos and written responses than about representing themselves in an authentic way.
Right.
The goal of the app, I feel, is to be authentic and be goofy with strangers, says Gomez, who recently took a 6-month hiatus from using the apps. He tried apps geared toward heterosexual and homosexual relationships, saying, quote, and all of them are way worse than I remember.
Mm,
The next reason, overly sexualized themes. Other users have been turned off by dating apps because they've become yet another place for women to be solicited for illicit pictures and messages. So that much has changed, I guess, since I've dated because, yeah,
mhm,
the
mhm.
amount of times you get unsolicited pictures, like seriously,
Right.
it's, I don't miss it. I'll just say that.
Yeah.
Um, Louise Mason, who is a 42-year-old freelance marketing specialist from Doncaster, UK, quit
Mhm,
Bumble and Tinder cold turkey because she had been receiving overly sexualized messages and has been, quote, accidentally celibate. I like that. For years after deciding against having one night stands in the pursuit of a meaningful relationship. Quote, I wasn't like taking a vow of celibacy. It was actually just realizing I deserve more than this, she said,
mhm,
who has been single since 2007 and has never been married and has no kids. Quote, straight away, they want you to send them pictures. And it was getting to the point where none of the guys actually wanted to meet up in real life. It's like there's this online bubble for them. Mason says she also got to a point where she realized she thought these men were on the wrong app. Quote, if you want pics, go on OnlyFans and pay for that. Boom. That's a mic drop. That's a mic drop. Next reason, paying for apps. Another
So,
chief sorry, go ahead.
so the person wants, so the man wants to pick. So, like, I'm guessing the man wants new pics or just pictures,
Oh,
like, basically.
yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
If
okay.
a man is asking for pictures, he might start off saying, "Oh, send me a picture," and then I'm kind of using examples of myself
Yeah.
that I've been through. They'll kind of say, "Oh, send me a picture," and then you send them a picture of like your face. "Oh, send me a full body picture because listen, they want to see what your body looks like and whatever." So then that's the next thing that happens, and then they'll take that, settle with it for a little bit, and then they push it and say, "Oh, send me pictures like that." And it's like, first of all, A, you'll ask me to send you pictures, and I haven't even met you in person,
Mm,
you know? Like,
mm.
it doesn't work that way, you know what I mean?
Mm. Yeah,
You
yeah,
get more for patients, men out there.
true.
You
So
really do.
yeah, true. I agree. Like, just get to know the woman first.
Yeah.
Uh, and then yeah, ask for like a couple pictures because some women only have like two pictures on their profile, and that may not be enough for the man
Yeah,
to be
yeah,
like,
yeah. No, and that's okay to ask for
yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
But it's also like in my like when I had dating apps,
Hmm.
it like I had one that I probably use more frequently. It's where I met my ex-husband, it's where I met my current boyfriend as well. And I had a bunch of pictures, lots of pictures. And
Hmm.
then you would still have guys be like, "Oh, send me pictures." I'm like, there's like a whole ton of them. I'm not saying like I'm not exaggerating. I must have had like 10 plus pictures
Hmm.
on that profile. And it's like
Hmm.
they're all there.
Hmm.
And you still want more?
Hmm.
Like there is a fine line of like don't push it because like just like talk to me, get to know me. Because again, like the guys that have like listen, I've been through my own thing.
Hmm.
I've had my fun, whatever. And so really and truly, my main goal is I think you're cute, so whatever, I'll go there. But the ones that you have like the meaningful relationship with, patience is a virtue.
Hmm.
You're like, especially if I'm talking to you for longer than a week and I'm actually like interested in talking to you and I'm actually like trying to engage with you,
Hmm.
you're gonna get what you want. We're not complicated as much as men think we are. I mean, I'm sure there's some that are a little more whatever, but really and truly to the core, we're not complicated. If we like you, we think you're cute and you're funny and you're nice and whatever, you're gonna get what you want.
Hmm.
We're not that difficult. Like, we're just
Well,
not. Um,
yeah. Well, there's some women who just like, are picky,
yeah,
depending on like their.
but don't get me
I mean,
twisted. Don't get twisted from what I just said.
yeah,
Picky is a thing, yes,
yeah.
but it's just if you meet those things, we're not that complicated. It just don't ask for pictures like that, and
Right.
don't send unsolicited men.
Yeah.
Sorry to say, you've seen one, you've seen them all. There's nothing special about yours in particular. Like maybe you'd be like, oh, it's bigger than I've seen before, or whatever. You might get that, but that's it. Because yours looks like the last guy's. It's
Yeah.
sorry. Like, but what were you gonna finish saying?
No, no, that's all I'm going to say right now.
That
But
women are picky.
yeah, I like the height thing is like the most.
Hmm.
I feel like it's the most ridiculous thing. I understand that you women want like tall babies in the near future, but like
It's not even so much about that. It's nothing about that when it comes to height.
it it,
Um,
it is a true. Well, it's some truth to it, but like
that they want tall
sometimes,
babies. I've never heard
yeah,
that.
yeah, because like
Really?
yeah,
Weird.
that's because
Not what I'd think
because like
about.
when the man's tall and the woman's like short,
Hmm.
you're gonna have some type of genetics from
Yeah.
the both
Yeah.
parents,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
and height is like probably what the woman looks at in terms of uh what she sees in her child in her
Well,
future. Like,
here's what I'll say. Like, I don't know if you've actually been told that,
mm,
but for me, and I think for most women who want a tall guy,
mm,
it's just not what we're thinking about. We're not thinking so much about that. We're thinking more about we just want a tall guy. Like for me, it would be like I don't understand it. I'll fully admit it. I will not understand why it is that way.
I,
But it's an attraction thing. It's like we're attracted to taller guys. Like I
I
don't
think it's I
get
think
wrong
it's
with it.
I think it's sexually and
Mhm.
also babies.
100% is sexually.
I think it's
Sorry,
a
that came out too quick.
yeah. I think
Yeah.
it's a definite thing, which is shouldn't. I don't know. It just makes no sense. But like, y- and then there's
Yeah.
like yeah, and then there's women who just want guys right 6'5", 6. I understand 6, but like 6'5", 6'8". I'm like, you might as well
I have
go.
no way. Like,
You might as well go to the NBA to look for guys like that because you know there's hardly guys like that in the world. Like the average, I would say the average is around I would say 5'9", 5'10". I would say for a man.
the average height for a man is 5'9".
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So
And that's the thing is it's like I mean 5'9" is still tall for me. I'm short. So
mhm,
anything really is tall for me, but I mean the tallest guy that I've been with is my boyfriend. He's 6'3". Um But it's not like I'm necessarily fishing out for that. I'm just looking for someone who's taller than me. Like, I'm not
yeah,
even looking for someone who's necessarily 6 feet because whatever. I've dated guys under 6 feet. I've whatever with
yeah,
guys under 6 feet, like, but here's what else. Hmm, here's what I'll say about the height thing. I think where sexually it comes from, I mean, there's it's layered, but I think one of the reasons is when you think and I'm gonna debunk it in a second, but what I think is people think tall guy, bigger member, and that's not always the case. It's not always the case. Men who are shorter can also have big members. They're called short kings for a reason.
mm,
So, it's I think women need to retrain our brains to be like, don't look at all of those things.
yeah,
Try to look at the person.
yeah.
Um,
I mean,
yeah.
Look at Sandy and Tom Holland.
Yeah, exactly.
That's it. That she didn't care. I don't think she cared about the height.
No,
Yeah,
clearly not. She's gonna marry him.
yeah.
Clearly she
So
doesn't care.
yeah.
Um, and also not only that, but to say it the other way around too,
Mm,
shorter men also have issues dating taller women. So just
yeah.
like with women who have to kind of retrain our brains
Mhm,
to not just focus on taller men
mhm,
or men who are over a certain height,
mhm,
men also need to, like, just because a woman's taller than you doesn't make you inferior.
mhm.
She's just taller. Who cares?
Yeah, yeah, I would agree. But
Yeah.
I think a lot of men tend to look at, you know, the weight instead of
Yeah.
like you know,
Yeah.
the height, right? So
Yeah.
like,
Well, both. Both.
yeah,
Because men really have this vision of
mhm,
what they think a
mhm,
woman should look like
yeah,
when it comes to height, when it comes to weight, and all of that.
mhm,
And it's, again, women can be the same way when it comes to weight as well. But it's just like it gets to a point where and listen, I'm on the chunkier side, and I've been told that I'm just like, "Then, like, what are we doing here?" kinda thing. Like, sometimes some things can be said insensitively, but it's just like, you can't just look at that. You can't, like, accept her for who and this is kind of like what's good about, like, my boyfriend, and I wish there were more men like him in the world
mhm,
for everybody, in the sense of he doesn't necessarily have a preference. He doesn't have necessarily a preference of what a woman should look like that he's
mhm,
attracted to.
mhm,
He
mhm,
he because he's been open with me about this. He's dated black, white, skinny, fat, whatever. He's dated it all and been sexually attracted to them all. he doesn't care. He's like, you can't look at what one woman looks like and think that's it. That's what I'm attracted to. He's attracted to anything. And I think there needs to be more men like that
Mhm.
in the world where it doesn't matter. And again, on the other side, there should be more women like that as well. Like it shouldn't matter what what a man or what we look like. We
Mhm.
you know, whatever.
Yeah, I agree.
Hmm. But let's get back
Yeah, yeah, go ahead.
to the article. So
Yeah.
yeah, so paying for apps. Um, hmm. Another chief complaint about younger generations using dating apps is that the platforms encourage users to purchase memberships for a better shot at finding the perfect match, which I've definitely seen in the short time I've been on a dating app in the
Mhm.
last 5 years. And the irony of these paid plans is that many apps offer months long or year long memberships when ideally users would like to meet someone suitable as soon as possible and delete the apps for good. If I paid for a month of online dating, I would like to think that I've met somebody that I could at least be dating monogamously. Again, said by Mason from up above with the pictures. Okay, I might not end up marrying the guy and I might come back to the app to find the next one, but I don't want to pay for 3 months. Gomez also explained the notion of a rose jail, a theory that Gen Zers and millennials have discussed on TikTok that has to do with Hinge's paid membership tiers and other paid components of the app. Hinge users can pay for roses in order to unlock their most compatible matches, but users who don't want to pay or can't afford to pay to use the app are essentially out of luck on meeting who they may actually be most compatible with. Quote, people are supposing that the way Hinge is trying to get you to spend money is they're keeping all of these people in rose jail because you have to buy a rose to send to them. I feel like they don't show up in your feed otherwise, and so they're
Mhm.
keeping away from you these compatible matches that you won't be able to get unless you pay for that. And this was said by Gomez.
Mm.
Next one, return to meeting in real life. While there are active deterrents for younger generations to steer clear of dating apps, some are simply ditching them out of a desire to just meet someone in real life. Quote, I don't want to just be chatting people online. I don't want a pen pal. But at the same time, it's become increasingly difficult for Gen Zers and millennials who lost several of their formative adult socializing years to COVID to make organic connections in real life. Without a dating app telling them someone is single, has their same sexual preferences, and is interested in them, it can feel daunting for people to approach others in settings where they could potentially meet someone. It's generational thing to an extent. I think people are more wary of strangers. Amen to that. My college experience was interrupted by COVID, and I missed out on on like 2 years of organic social interaction that might have primed me for more of that later in life. But Gomez and his friends are pushing themselves to create more in real life meetups. They hosted a champagne and shackles party, that sounds like fun, where they matched up all of the party goers. They posted flyers around their neighborhood and invited a bunch of strangers for some matchmaking in real time.
Mhm.
I don't think anyone walked away as a couple from that, but people were very down for it. They were either sick of the apps or said it's just a novel way to meet someone that's not available to them every day.
Mm.
So, um,
Yeah. No,
Bumbles, sorry, you're gonna say,
yeah, I do have a problem with a lot of the dating apps
yeah,
nowadays.
like
It's
you're
just
on the
it
apps.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That I do tend to just like, be on there for like a few days and then, be off it for like, a couple months.
Mm,
And yeah, I just think that the whole paid monthly or paid is ridiculous and it's too
agreed.
expensive.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's okay to pay little sums here and there. I understand that the
The way they
developer,
make the money.
yeah, yeah, developers who made the app need to get paid here and there, but like, ooh, the way how they're using the system on Tinder and Bumble and other dating apps is just way too expensive for my taste, and yeah, I don't, yeah, I just think a lot of it's also a scam as well too. So, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So go ahead, go
Um,
ahead.
so Bumble's big mistake, quote, what disgusted me the most about this Bumble campaign is that it reeks of you know, you want it, which is
Mhm.
gross. It's
Ye-
Go ahead.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
gross. Go ahead. Yeah.
It's grossly condescending and patronizing, as if they know better than ourselves what's best for us and our bodies. One TikTok user, which is from both sides of the couch, that's the TikTok user, whose bio says she is a therapist, said in a video. Quote, in a climate where our bodily autonomy is being stripped away from us more and more each day, it just doesn't make sense why we would take the risk of harming our mental and physical health if we don't need to. In a statement released on social media, Bumble acknowledged it had made a mistake. Our ads referencing celibacy were an attempt to lean into a community frustrated by modern dating, and instead of bringing joy and humor, we unintentionally did the opposite, according to the statement. Bumble declined to provide Fortune with any further statement on the matter, but the company also said it would remove the ads from their global marketing campaign as well as make a donation. The amount was not disclosed to the National Domestic Violence Hotline, quote, among other organizations, as part of our ongoing efforts to support the work being done around the world to support women, marginalized communities, and those
Mhm.
impacted by abuse.
Mhm.
Um, Kataya Varbanova, CEO of brand marketing firm Viral Marketing Stars, tells Fortune that Bumble's campaign very well could have been launched to try to cause controversy and more attention to the brand, which worked, but that ultimately, well, I think it worked. She thinks it backfired, but I mean, bad press is still good press, I guess. In fact, it's
Mhm.
relatively common for more popular and progressive brands to push out campaigns that, quote, make some noise and create discussion. But the problem with Bumble is they didn't realize they crossed the line a little too far. Bumble didn't realize that what they were doing wasn't just poor taste, but also it's harmful to certain communities and a little bit insensitive as well. So,
Mhm.
yeah, that's the end of that article. So, the final topic, this is the Dell stuff. So,
Mhm.
tech companies are still trying to rally workers back into physical offices, and many workers are still not having it. Based on a recent report, computer maker Dell has stumbled even more than most. Dell announced a new return to office initiative earlier this year, last year. In the new plan, workers had to classify themselves as remote or hybrid. Those who classify themselves as hybrid are subject to a tracking system that ensures they are in a physical office 39 days a quarter, which works out to close to 3 days per work week. Alternatively, by classifying themselves as remote, workers agree they can no longer be promoted or hired into new roles within the company. The you say? Like, what? Sorry, I didn't remember this article. What? Just because you work remotely means you can't get any promotions, you can't get
Mhm. Mhm.
any, like, you can't level up in a company? I think not.
Mhm.
Okay, let's continue. Business Insider claims it has seen internal Dell tracking data that reveals nearly 50% of the workforce opted to accept the consequences of staying remote, undermine Dell's plan to restore its in office culture. The publication spoke with a dozen Dell employees to hear their stories as to why they chose to stay remote, and a variety of those reasons came up. Some said they enjoyed more free time and less strain on their finances after going remote, and nothing could convince them to give that up now. Others said their local offices had closed since the pandemic or that they weren't interested in promotions. That's that's weird. Others still noted that it seemed pointless to go in as an in-person office when the teams they worked on were already just distributed across multiple offices around the world, so they'd mostly still be on Zoom calls anyway.
Mhm,
One person said they'd spoken with colleagues who had chosen to go hybrid, and those colleagues reported doing work in mostly empty offices, punctuated with video calls with people who were in other mostly empty offices.
mm,
Many interviewed admitted they were looking for work at other companies that aren't trying to corral employees back into the office, which is getting harder to do now. I feel like at least here in Canada, a lot of companies are going back to being fully in office.
mhm,
Um, Dell is not the only company struggling with this. For example, we reported several times on Apple's internal struggles and employee revolts over remote work. Executive management at the companies trying to restore in person work culture claim that working together in a physical space allows for greater collaboration and innovation. Research on this topic has offered mixed insights, but there does seem to be some consensus that remote work is accompanied by very modest drops in productivity. For example, a working study at the Stanford Institute for Economic Policy Research suggested around a 10% drop in productivity, even as it noted that the cost saving benefits of remote work could make up for some of that.
mhm,
So,
mm.
I guess we'll
Yeah,
see
we'll see. Yeah.
how that goes, but that's it for me.
So
Let
I
me see
have
where we're at, hold on. Okay, yeah, go ahead.
I have an added topic, a
Okay.
bonus topic there. So Google Calendar
Mhm.
is removing certain things off their calendar. So
Mhm.
you're not gonna believe this,
Yes,
Tanika.
I've heard about some of this, yeah, go ahead.
So Black History Month is being removed off the calendar, so you won't see it automatically on the calendars. Pride Month is being removed on the calendar, and
Yeah, I heard
other
that.
culture events. So the other cultural events are like basically Women History Month and LGBTQ plus holidays, and basically among others that you see, including like Indigenous month. That's getting removed as well. So I don't know what's going on. I think it has a lot to do with they're not trying to force a lot of these progressive type of months, but Black History months have been there for years.
Yeah,
Pride
years,
Month has been
decades.
for years, and I understand that the Indigenous month has been
It's
around for
newer.
newer, but
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, I don't really understand what Google's doing, but like, here's a written article that Google's online and mobile calendars are no longer including references to Black History Month, Women's History Month, and LGBTQ plus holidays, among other events. The world's biggest search engine previously marked the beginning of Black History Month in February and Pride Month in June, but the events do not appear for 2025. The removal of the holiday was first reported by The Verge last week. A Google spokesperson, Madison and uh, Crushman, uh, uh, provided the Guardian with a statement that said the listed holidays were not uh, sustainable for their model. Some years ago, the calendar team stated manually adding a broader set of culture moments in a wide number of countries around the world. We got feedback that some other events and countries were missing and maintaining hundreds of moments. Manually and consistently globally wasn't scalable or suitable, said the statement. So in mid 2024, we returned to showing only public holidays and national uh, holidays as well, from timeanddate.com globally while allowing users to manually add other important moments. So you can manually add, but it won't automatically show anymore that this is Black History Month, this is Indigenous Month, this is this and that. So I don't know why, but ever since like, I think this has to do with like, not shoving things in people's faces. I noticed a lot of the Target in America is not doing Pride. Um Pride they're not doing a special Pride thing anymore because they don't
Well,
want to shove things in, people's faces and, force things and down people's throats and every single thing. That's what they're trying to do. But yeah, everything ever since Trump got in office, it's been um a little bit suspect because like it's yeah. I don't. What's your opinion on it? I don't know.
um, I mean, I, again, I never really paid attention to the Google Calendar very much, and I was just like checking my phone too because I'm like curious to see if some of the like more like indigenous stuff and that kind of thing is still appears on my calendar, which would be powered, Google's all connected or wherever it all shows up, but it's I don't understand the reason why you need to take that off a calendar. I think the issue with being quote unquote not pushing things in people's faces is gearing to this generation or the society that we're in today of people being very sensitive to things, which we talked about in another episode of being very sensitive to things and, you know, making things about them. Like, I don't want to see this. I don't want it. Then don't look. Like, it's really simple. Just don't look. You don't need to focus on something that doesn't align with your views or whatever.
Mhm.
So, yes, you're doing this, not shoving things in people's faces, but why, when it's about marginalized people, is shoving it in people's faces? If it's any other holiday
Mhm.
that is okay for, I'm just gonna say it, for white people,
Mhm.
only then it's okay. But when it's something like Black History Month, Women's History Month, Pride Month, anything having to do with Indigenous people, is when we don't want to shove that in your face. Like, how does that supposed to make us feel? You know?
Yeah.
That we're not being recognized.
Mhm.
And it's a very, honestly, it's not something that's going to change how I move through the world, but it's just the matter of principle, you know? And I don't think this is something that's going to make people move differently through the world of, oh my God, Google's taking these things off of the calendar. But it's just the principle of the matter. Why is this necessary? And who made this decision? Like, no one at a round table was like, maybe that's a bad idea. Nobody in this, where we are in the world right now. Okay,
Mhm.
bad idea, personally. But yeah, well, that's what I have to say on
Mm.
it.
I feel like a lot of like the tech companies have scaled them back on, the DEI, diversity, equality, and inclusion. So like, and I also think that a lot of the tech companies thinking that like all of this DEI stuff is just like just
Then we have
forced.
to think, well, here's
Yeah.
the thing. I actually would agree that it was forced.
Mhm.
But here's not the way you think I'm thinking it.
Right.
When all of this came out, that we have to be diverse, that people are being let go from positions to bring in, especially Black people.
Yeah.
And I'll give an example. It's not like a great example. It's an example. Dancing with the Stars. We had the host of Dancing with the Stars being Tom Bergeron there forever. And, this is a person who's been on our television screens even before Dancing with the Stars. He was on America's Home Videos as well. And was a focus of that show along with the judges. And then when all of this stuff started creeping up of we need to be diverse, we need to bring Black people into things, we
Mhm.
fire him and bring on Tyra frickin' Banks. That was when I was done. Because as great as it is to bring on a Black person, Tyra Banks, sorry, not one of my favorite people. She sucks as a host. And it felt like it was like, okay, we're just bringing this person on because she's Black. Like, why? That's not necessary. And kind of seeing how this everything was kind of gonna go, I actually remember having a conversation with my mom on this when it first happened because we're kind of dealing with this along with the pandemic. Was this is not gonna last? Eventually, the companies are going to be like, "Oh, okay, we got through that. Now let's go back to the way things used to be." You know
Yeah,
what I
like
mean?
20, yeah, 20
Yeah.
years ago.
Or not even just 20 years ago, like
Yeah.
6 years ago, 7 years
Mm.
ago.
Yeah.
All of this diversity and inclusion wasn't a thing until 2020 when I'll say, I mean, it's important. It's an important thing. But when it happened with, oh God, why is his name not coming to me right now? Rodney, oh shoot. You talked about him during the Black History Month last year.
Is it Rodney
Uh,
King?
yeah, no, not Rodney King. We talked about Rodney King. Uh, I'm horrible, guys. I'm so sorry. The guy that was killed by police in May 2020, and it was recorded.
George Floyd?
Thank you. Yes, George Floyd.
Yeah.
When everything happened with George Floyd and um and his murder, because that's what it was a murder.
Hmm.
Um, that's when everything started to happen because we have Black Lives Matter saying Black Lives Matter, and not only that, but Black people should be seen in more positions.
Yeah.
We shouldn't be getting ignored, passed over, all of that, which is, I agree with all of that.
Hmm.
But when you're piling it on the way we were, this too shall pass to the point where we're just gonna go right back to where we were.
Hmm.
So, hmm, and this is, I think, a good example of how we're just gonna go right back to the way things used to be.
Hmm.
And I don't agree with it. I'm also not surprised by it, which is sad to say. We should be able to say we're surprised by something like this. Um, but I'm not. So, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Uh, yeah, I just think that you're just bringing awareness to a lot of these issues. It's not, I don't think it's because like, to be honest, like 20, 30 years ago, we were crying about like, how, uh, there's not a lot of diversity. There's not a lot of this. There's not a lot of that. There's not a
Mhm.
lot of diversity in media, like,
Um,
movies and
which we're
etc.
doing better,
Yeah, we're doing better.
but
Yeah, yeah, go ahead.
is it going to continue? That's my thing. That's what I'm concerned about. Is it going, and not just Black people? Because
Hmm.
again, I do want to preface this because this sometimes bothers me.
Yeah,
But Black people, yes, we need to be a part of things. Yes, there needs to be diversity in media, movies, everything,
yeah,
whatever. But
yeah.
it's not just us. And we tend to forget that.
Hmm.
That Asian people don't have the recognition that they deserve. Indigenous people don't have the recognition that they deserve. There needs to be just we especially in this country, we pride on the melting pot, we're a melting pot. But it's not a melting pot in the workforce. It's not a melting pot in the media, in movies, music, whatever. It's not a melting pot there yet. And things like this, we're just going right back to what we were doing before 2020. So, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. So let's hope these companies like, return and realize that, it's was a mistake and
No, they will.
yeah.
If we talk about it enough, just like we're doing, if the listeners, you're talking about it enough with your people in your life,
Yep.
going to the social medias, talking about this, putting it out there, next year they'll go back to the way it used to be.
Yeah.
So,
I'm sure the backlash will be loud and clear
yeah,
about these tech companies. So we'll
yeah.
see. We'll see. We'll see. We'll get a up. We'll give you guys an update on it. And yeah, that's basically it. That's all I have to say.
Okay.
So this ends episode 75 of the Next Tape podcast. The Next Tape podcast is available now on all podcast platforms. We also have a website called
Next take podcast.podpage.io.
IO.
Link in the
And
show notes.
yeah, yeah. And where else are we at, Tanika?
Facebook and Instagram at Next Take Podcast and Twitter and TikTok at Next Take Pod.
Okay. You can contact us in an email at mikeltanyka@gmail.com. That is mikeltanyka@gmail.com. So we talked about a lot of topics on this episode. Um, do you want to name the topics? Uh,
Sure.
yeah, yeah,
What
go
did we
ahead.
talk about? We talked about dating sites.
Insights,
We
yeah.
Yeah, we talked about the Dell employees,
Yeah.
and we talked about what was that first one?
Um,
Um,
does it have to do with police? Is it
hmm,
police or is it?
that doesn't ring a bell. Um, Give me a minute while I check,
Yeah, check your notes.
because I don't remember.
Yeah, yeah. We, well, I just want to go on and just talked about the
Hmm.
Google Calendar and how, they removed some, of the, uh, a lot of the, holiday months. So like, Black History, um, LGBTQ, sorry, wait,
LGBTQ plus.
plus, um, as well, and Indigenous Month and other events. So like that's what we talked about. And what else we talked about on the first one,
Life
Tanika?
Labs.
Lifelabs. So that's all we talked about in this episode. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode as much as we did.
Hmm.
And yeah, that's pretty much it. You got anything else to say, Tanika?
No, my throat's going weird now.
All right, okay. So I'm Mikel and
I'm Tanyka.
we're out until
Thursday,
Thursday.
I
Okay,
think.
Thursday. All right, we'll see you then, guys. Peace.
Bye.